Is it time for MTV to retire the Video Music Awards? Are brands battling TLDR behavior by producing documentary films that clock in at 90 minutes? Can we create an assembly line for how to predict trends? We'll dive into these topics and more on the business podcast at the intersection of marketing, technology, media, and pop culture. We call it Disruptive FM. Roll the title.
It's Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Welcome to Disruptive FM, where business and culture collide. Sponsored by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. With your host, Geoffrey Cologne.
Okay, here we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Disruptive FM, episode 52. I'm Geoffrey Cologne, head of brand studio for Microsoft Advertising, about to dissect 3 trending topics and shed some light on if we can turn trend hunting into a scientific algorithm with Meabh Quoirin of Foresight Factory. It's another hot episode, just like the weather. So let's get to it. Here are 3 more trends coming at you.
Here are this week's trending topics. VMAs, very much antiquated.
Last week was the MTV Video Music Awards, also known as the VMAs. They've been going on forever now, but it may be time to retire the formula. The awards this year sunk to new lows. No one is watching. In fact, rumor is that a repeat of the film Forrest Gump on a Friday night at 8 p.m. garnered higher ratings than the annual awards show. We've heard it all before. The audience coveted by advertisers, also known as 18 to 24, is the audience for the VMAs. A few years ago, MTV said it was going to become a very data-driven company. But are they following all the wrong data? Rumor is that most 18 to 24-year-olds have no money to spend, don't watch award shows, don't shop with any of the advertisers who sponsor the show, don't even like the artists featured on the show. So it's the case of the VMAs that they are simply produced to take advertisers' money with the promise those brands will gain a bunch of online impressions. The issue is, couldn't those brands do this work on their own by going direct to consumers? In other words, not only are the VMAs not relevant, they're a middleman that has been replaced in our direct-to-consumer economy. In other words, the VMAs are very much antiquated.
Trending topics on DFM. Brand motion pictures.
For years, brands have produced documentary content in an effort to engage their target audiences, but a number of trends, including the growing popularity of documentaries, consumers who skip ads with abandon, and a shortage of funding for documentary filmmaking, is changing the way they employ them. Historically, branded documentaries have been short films distributed through online channels like YouTube. In most cases, the involvement of a brand was explicit, with brands and their wares featured prominently in some fashion. Such efforts are still commonplace, but brands are increasingly investing in different models that are more subtle, at the same time, more involved. Specifically, more brands are now going as far as to take on producer-like roles. Brands are spending money to make a film that they then hope to sell to a distributor that then is going to put it out in a world where an audience has to pay to watch it. For example, Johnson & Johnson hired Studios, also known as Universal McCann, to produce a documentary about nurses who care for AIDS patients. The film won the Grand Prix Award at Cannes Lions this year and earned an invitation to screen at the Cannes Film Festival. Johnson & Johnson is not alone. A diverse group of brands, including Stella Artois, Airbnb, Apple, and HP, have invested in large documentary productions. Not surprisingly, those involved in the production of documentaries, including the filmmakers themselves, say that brand-produced documentaries can't be commercials. If they start to feel like commercials, the likelihood of them resonating with viewers and gaining distribution is likely to decrease. Instead, brands seem content to attach themselves to documentary projects and let the filmmakers tell the stories they believe will make meaningful impressions on viewers. One of the reasons for this might be that even though brands are investing substantially more dollars up front, the economics can be attractive if the documentaries gain a modicum of traction.
Trending topics on DFM. Foresight Factory.
Trends. Everybody loves dissecting them in the advertising industry. Few of us get it right. My favorite shop that got me into trend hunting, well, it has to be PSFK. Those presentations, they were legendary in their design. Now some people think trend hunting can be turned into an algorithm and that everyone can participate. And we wonder if many industries don't study them as much as they should because they don't want to believe the $1 billion they spend on a product in research and development is going to not stick due to a trend in behavior. More and more, we see trend investment becoming a big part of business expenses, but it's still not a big enough investment. Most companies only dedicate 3% of their annual marketing budget to studying human behavior. As a result of this, do brands miss customer signals? Some even have trend hunters, like the Microsoft Advertising Brand Studio or the LinkedIn B2B Institute, as in-house offerings. Meabh Quoirin, CEO and founder of Foresight Factory, has been on the edge of trend forecasting for several decades, and she's seeing some interesting things in this area that all brands should pay attention to. Should trends be part of the research team's budget, and should that budget be inflated? We spoke to Meabh at Advertising Week APAC a few weeks ago. Let's take a listen.
I think that a lot of businesses, some will admit it, some will dance around the topic a little. There's a lot of ivory tower. I think it's almost subconscious. There's a willingness to trust insight that's come from the inside. Usually means consumer transactions, customer data, and they can see that that is quite immediate in terms of the results that they get. And, they'll add to that perhaps some general context around consumer spending. They'll probably spend a lot of time looking at insights around competitor performance. And those things tend to basically take over the whole agenda. And there's so much to unpack in that the where we're going next bit can get lost. I think also, if we're honest, one of the challenges is the fact that trends and trying to predict the future hasn't always been brilliantly done. So coming from the US, you'll remember Faith Popcorn, an immensely talented woman at her craft. But essentially, through the gift of psyche, Faith Popcorn never had anything to base it on other than her own really acute and pertinent observations. And we find actually that while the trends industry has exploded over the last 3-4 years, and there's a ton of interest in it, business doesn't always take it as seriously as it should. And I think that's because a lot of it is still observational. And so a lot of CMOs, so my customers are often, the marketing directors, the CMOs of this world, they say to me, well, I just didn't really think about needing that because actually it seemed really inspirational. And then I had absolutely no idea what to do with it. And worse, I couldn't sell it into my boss.
Should trends research be totally overhauled so that they provide foresight rather than insight? Would then the C-suite, and not just CMOs, pay attention and pay more for this research and analysis? Meabh Quoirin, CEO and founder of Foresight Factory in London.
You're listening to Disruptive FM with Geoffrey Cologne.
Now, here comes the music. Here comes the music. Here comes the music.
Hey, it's Disruptive FM, culture of business. I'm Geoffrey Cologne. Hope you're having a great week. We would love to connect with you. can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Disruptive FM. And connect with me personally on Twitter and Instagram at DJGEOFFE. Big shout out to our 3 sponsors: Microsoft Advertising, Intelligent Connections. Create smarter customer journeys in the era of customer-centric marketing. Learn more at microsoftadvertising.ai. Branding Strategy Insider. Branding Strategy Insider serves 50,000 plus senior level marketers, CMOs, and business decision makers daily, and is distributed by partners such as the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Google News, and Forbes. Branding Strategy Insider is the leading resource for thought leadership in brand strategy and brand management. Learn more at brandingstrategyinsider.com. And Iographer. Iographer creates accessories for your mobile device to help you make better videos. Their specialty is the Iographer case, which I've been using myself for a long time. Their cases allow you to attach filmmaking accessories like microphones, tripods, and lenses, and help you to stabilize your video and look like a pro. And they won't bust your budget either. Learn more at iographer.com. In the background, new music from HouseKeepKing. It's a track called Disco Calling and the Jackie remix. It's out now on Pocket Jack's Tracks.
And now, DFM presents... Do you even read, bro?
It's called reading. Top to bottom, left to right. Group words together as a sentence.
Book reviews for disruptive minds.
It's almost the end of summer when you're listening to this. We hope while you're listening to this, you might be relaxing on a beach somewhere to soak in the last bits of rays, taking in the sights and the smells. We have a list of some great behavioral books that you should have on your list if you are into that type of stuff. This comes from Adam Grant, organizational psychologist at Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania, an influencer extraordinaire. Here we go with 5 books out this fall to pick up and read if you want to be a better business decision maker. Number 1, Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. It's out September 10th. Each of his books questions old assumptions and starts a new cultural conversation, and this one will be no exception. Malcolm Gladwell is back with historical cases from Castro to Hitler and fresh analyses of recent scandals from Madoff to Sandusky that challenge us to rethink how we decide who to trust. Number 2, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. It's out October 15th. Winning and losing happens in sports because you're playing a finite game, but business is an infinite one. Simon Sinek makes a powerful case that the companies that last aren't the ones that play to win. They're the ones that play to keep playing. This is his most important idea yet. Number 3, You Look Like a Thing and I Love You by Chanelle Shane. It's out November 5th. If you're terrified that artificial intelligence is going to take over the world soon, you clearly haven't asked a computer to write pickup lines, name pets, or do anything else social or creative. Chanelle Shane has, and she's the perfect tour guide to explain what machine learning can and can't do, and how it's already affecting your life. I can't think of a better way to learn about artificial intelligence, and I've never had so much fun along the way. Number 4, This Could Be Our Future by Yancey Strickler. It's out October 29th. After co-founding Kickstarter, Yancey Strickler is convinced that our value system is broken. In this lucid book, he lays out a vision for how to fix it that's both audacious and elevating. A thought-provoking read for anyone who knows that there's more to life than simply accumulating wealth. And number 5, Seeing Around Corners by Rita McGrath. It's out September 3rd. In hindsight, windows of disruption are obvious. The challenge is to anticipate them before they happen. Columbia strategy professor Rita McGrath offers a playbook for seeing and seizing the opportunity. Again, major thanks to Adam Grant, organizational psychologist at Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania, for his book reviews. Okay, here are a few stories that are starting to create some buzz. We think you might want to pay closer attention. It's a segment we call On the Radar.
Here's what's on our radar. Number 1.
Housing lenders are seeking federal approval to deploy drones and computer algorithms in appraising property values. The move would eliminate tape measure toting human appraisers, as licensed appraisers would no longer be required to buy or sell most U.S. homes. While advocates argue the move would cut costs and speed up the sales process, consumer advocacy groups contend it introduces unnecessary risks because robots and algorithms can't replicate a trained appraiser's judgment, human senses, and experience.
Number 2.
American values are changing. Patriotism, religion, and having children are not as important to Americans as they were decades ago. This according to a new Wall Street Journal and NBC News poll. The change is driven by millennials and Gen Zers, who don't rank those values as high as older generations. Compared with a poll from 1998, the importance of patriotism decreased 9 percentage points, religion by 12 points, and starting a family by 16 points. Despite the generational gaps, Americans of all ages ranked the importance of hard work over everything else.
Number 3.
The world's largest hotel management companies, Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, and Wyndham, have purchased or conceived chains at a dizzying pace. Particular attention has been directed at millennial travelers, with a cluster of brands created for those who shun the cookie-cutter sameness that was once the industry's strong suit. Marriott, for instance, now has 30 brands in its stable. This hotel brand arms race is leading industry watchers to ponder whether the sector can withstand the impending economic downturn. All right, that's another wrap for us here at DFM, episode 52. We hope you had a great summer with us. Next week, Steve Bartlett, CEO and founder of The Social Chain, joins us. There are a lot of podcasts out there, and we truly appreciate you taking the time to check us out. Please help us by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the show. We're on all the major podcast services: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. And we're coming soon to Pandora. Once again, the socials, Twitter and Instagram at DisruptiveFM. And of course, check out cool content from our 3 sponsors: MicrosoftAdvertising.ai, BrandingStrategyInsider.com, and Niographer.com. Until next time, from everyone here at DFM, I'm Geoffrey Cologne. Catch you next week.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM with Microsoft Communications designer Geoffrey Cologne. All thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.